Hey, I'm gonna throw you a curveball here.
Okay.
No pun intended.
All right.
But have you saw the Savannah Bananas before?
I have not.
I think most men say that their coaches were the most influential men in their life. Have you had experience with that?
I have.
New teams who may emerge, where would you see those maybe emerging from currently? Hey, thank you so much for coming on today. Can you tell the people watching what your name is and what it is that you do?
My name is Greg Kigar. I'm the general manager of the new summer collegiate baseball team of the Fort Smith Marshals.
Okay, and this is it's relatively new. Is this the first year?
First year of the Marshals, first year of this league, although summer leagues have been going for quite some time, but the first time here in this area.
Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right in, because one of the big things that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to sports is they don't really know how to categorize them right. They don't know the right categories, right? So is it pro? Is it not pro? At what point does it become pro? All these different things. So can you explain the category that the Marshals sit in currently?
For sure. It is not professional. It is a summer developmental league, mostly made of college age students who are still going to college. And their hope is to get drafted one day and sign that professional contract. So in saying that, each team gets an exception or several exceptions where if we have two high school seniors that have finished their high school eligibility that will be playing in college. And we can also grab a guy who maybe has been drafted, played out his contract, is no longer under contract professionally. If he wanted to continue to play, we could sign him as well.
Okay. And signing, so even that terminology, when it goes into that, what does that actual process look like? Or is there kind of like a recruitment process? Is there a trial process? What does someone becoming a marshal look like?
It could be any of those things. Once we hired a manager, he coaches in Texas, the state of Texas. So he basically reached out to a lot of his college and high school coaches to start that recruiting process for the summer. We got a little bit of a late start, as did a lot of our teams, where a lot of college kids come in the fall, have a pretty quick idea on where they're going to play the next summer. So my first worry was we didn't get started in time, but we've had plenty of guys. Actually, we had 3 or 4 guys that got hurt late in their college season, and we had to start re-recruiting other people that maybe we had turned down before just because we didn't have the need at that position before. Mm-hmm. But we're also, we signed a kid out of St. John's up in Canada who flew in from Montreal last week that had a pretty tired arm at the end of his college season, wanted to take a break. Reached out to us a couple weeks ago and wanted to get back and throw before his college season started again in September.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is very interesting. Okay. What's the age range of actual players?
Typically, you'll see 18 to 23, but you'll have a couple 25-year-old guys. I think we have a 26. And again, they just want to continue to play, continue to develop, continue to be coached, and maybe sign that free agent contract and get to an affiliated league, much like up in Northwest Arkansas, the Naturals there and the Travelers over in Little Rock. So that's what these guys want to get to. We're that developmental league just before that.
Okay. And so explain to different people who are in kind of your division. And I know that it has a name. I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. What's the division name and who are all in it?
Mid-America League is the name of our league. We have Abilene, Sherman, Piney Woods, which is in Texas in the White Oak area, Joplin, and I'm missing one, but there's 6 of them total.
Texarkana?
Texarkana. Thank you very much. Yeah, they're one of the late ads, and our league is looking to grow. So it wouldn't surprise me if we added a team or 2 next year or the year after. The hope is in 5 years to have 16 teams in our league, quadrants of 4, so the travel isn't so bad. We're headed to Abilene tomorrow. We leave at 7 o'clock in the morning. They play at 7:15 p.m. They're there for 2 days, and they travel back for a home series. So if we can get into quadrants of 4 and play most of our games within a little better geographical area, it's a little easier. But right now, they're telling us where to go, and we're going and playing.
Okay, and so for new teams who may emerge, where would you see those maybe emerging from currently?
I would say Louisiana, Oklahoma, maybe Kansas, maybe another team in Arkansas and Missouri as well. It's just an area that hasn't had a lot of this developmental league like this. Part of what we're doing now is the part of the college experience with the NIL, name, image, likeness. We're incorporating that in what we do. So although we can't pay our players to play, we can pay them to do things like, we had a position camp for kids. And if they do signings at a car dealership or something like that, that's something we can pay them to do.
Okay.
So there's an opportunity to make money when they go out on the road. We give them a per diem, so they have money to get breakfast and lunch. And then part of our responsibility is when we have a team in town playing us, we provide that team with a decent hotel and a post-game meal. So that's part of our responsibility.
So basically the players do not get paid, but they do get taken care of in whatever means. And I guess even speaking on that, one other way that people jump in and that you allow and take care of the players is through host homes, right? That's a big thing.
Correct. 3/4 of our players are in host families, and we have a lot of local kids, which has been great because twofold. One, I don't have to find a host family for them, and they have family and friends that want to come out and see them continue to play. So we've been in that 300 to 600 range as far as attendance. We're playing at Crowder Field on UA Fort Smith's campus. And the hope and dream is here in a couple of years, we'll have a multi-purpose stadium being built out at the riverfront.
Oh, wow. Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be super cool. Yeah, there's a lot of development going on out there. And everything's pretty much new out there right now by the river.
It is. They finally have some infrastructure in place that between utilities and some other things, it's ripe for doing something like this. We reached out to a lot of community members to see what else they would like to see out there. It appears between Benny Westfall and his sister donating some property to us like they did for the Marshals Museum and a few other things out there that, would probably be some recreational outdoor opportunities there. It's going to be more than just a stadium for baseball for sure. And that's my background. I, put in special events and those types of things. So, being down here from Michigan, I can program a new facility 12 months out of the year.
Wow. Okay. So going back to the league, when did the mid get started? And, where was the first, team?
Abilene was the first team, and they began in November. As far as being able to recruit players, although 3 of the other franchises got going late last year. As far as Fort Smith is concerned, I moved the beginning of November, but it took me about a month and a half to kind of get my foothold in the ground and realize, okay, here's where I'm at, being relatively new. And, I was able to hire 2 people. And by February 1st, we were, really a team looking for players. So, and there were 2 after us.
Wow.
Texarkana and Joplin came in pretty late in the process. So there were times I felt like we were running behind, but then I looked at those 2 franchises and I'm like, okay, I'm not them. So they had a longer way to go.
Yeah. And so the way that the teams work as far as a financial setup is you guys are mainly relying on ticket sales and sponsorships like ArcBest and Mercy.
Absolutely. We're a small business like many small businesses around the area. So we have a small fund to work from, and then everything else is ticket sales, sponsorships, merch, that type of thing.
Okay.
Provides us an opportunity to do more things at the ballpark, have better giveaways, do more fun things on the field between innings. And, we want people to get the entire, I'll say, minor league experience that they would expect to see up at the Naturals or over in Little Rock. And for me, it's more fun to develop those types of things as well.
Okay. Hey, I'm going to throw you a curveball here.
Okay.
No pun intended.
All right.
But have you saw the Savannah Bananas before?
I have not.
Have you heard of them?
I have.
Okay.
I have. Actually, the 2 previous GMs I worked for were interns for them 15 years ago for their ownership, not for Savannah. But
okay.
And then Jesse Cole purchased Savannah. They basically played out of the Coastal Plains League in a league similar to ours. And he had this concept in his head, and he's kind of one of those, circus guys that he did exactly what he set out to do. We'll see how much longevity they have. Growing up, Harlem Globetrotters are the best thing that ever happened to basketball for me. Whether he can sustain what the Globetrotters have done, I don't know. But, it's a little bit taboo that he's messed with such a traditional sport. I don't think the Globetrotters had that kind of tradition that they're trying to break away from. They were just having fun with the game. And I think that's Jesse's intention, is just to have fun with the game.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of traditionalists out there that don't like that at all.
Yeah.
And right now, we go into extra innings, we put a runner on second base right away.
Mm-hmm.
That's messing with tradition.
Yes.
And although a guy that, when we have home games at 7:00 at night and I'm in the office at 8 a.m, sometimes a quick game is just what the doctor ordered. And we've been, like last week, we had 8 games in 9 days. And, I don't need a 15-inning game in the middle of all that. So if that gets our games over with, I'll take that. But what Jesse's doing is pretty special. They've, I don't know how far they can grow it anymore, because right now they do not play anything but major league ballparks.
Oh, wow.
But they are pushing their other team that they developed out into minor league facilities. And it's fun to watch. We'll see how long it takes to run its course, though.
Yeah. I thought about that because they had a kind of a similar thing of the same league to figure out is funding, ticket sales. They had to get ticket sales up. I was reading online that they were at the point to where it was about to get shut down if they didn't figure out how to bring in some additional funding. And so I think he worked with a business coach called Alex Ramosi.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
I have heard of him.
I think he worked with Alex's team.
Okay.
And they came up with some of these ideas and began to implement them, and it literally saved the team. And this could all be, I'm just skipping around this, but it is important that people come out. Because if they don't, then, you're only relying on sponsorships, and sponsorships only work because of the audience that they get access to. And so it all crumbles if people don't come out.
Well, that's why the whole experience is really important to us, because it's some people, typically the wife and mother of the family is going to make those kinds of decisions. And if it's only about baseball, she's probably not as interested as the dad or the sons. But if there's a couple daughters out there, there's a giveaway that night, and then there's fun things to do between the innings, and it's a whole entire atmosphere we're trying to develop. She's more than willing to maybe come out more than once.
Yeah.
For us, it's great to see somebody's first time out there, but it's more of our bread and butter if we can make them come back. And whether that turns into a small 10-game season ticket plan or what, when we keep seeing people come back again and again and again, then we feel we're doing something right.
Mm-hmm. I have so many follow-up questions for that. So I think it's interesting that you said you think your number one target audience is the mom.
I think moms make a lot of the decisions on where the families go. So if we can capture the mom, I think it goes a long way to bringing in a family of 4 or 5. And if they have a great experience, they'll be back.
Wow.
And you're going to, dad's older sons, brothers typically played Little League or some baseball along the way. I think obviously there's more women and girls playing softball more than ever, some playing baseball and playing really good baseball. So having that attitude right now may change in 5 or 10 years. But right now it's, if the moms are having fun at the game, then I feel we're doing our job. If
you can kind of give me like a breakdown just of men and women influence on someone who may come to the game, what would that percentage be?
I still think it's more male dominated if, guys just come together. But we see a lot of couples come out. We see, even if it's 2 or 3 women that just want to check it out and see what we're all about, and maybe bring their boyfriends the next time, or maybe they just want to hang out and it ends up being a girls' night. But for us, it's all about selling tickets and making sure people are having fun and coming back. And what's been fun is we started May 23rd, and you start seeing hats and T-shirts out in the public, and we've been able to get on a couple billboards around town, and it's just fun seeing it grow. And part of my demeanor is I don't want to do anything fast, because sometimes that doesn't last. So I'm a fairly patient guy. And so I'm patiently waiting for this to develop organically, instead of just, you can shove $20,000 into one way to try to build something, but it's never long-term when you try to do it that quickly. So we're just going about our business, doing things like this, going out, talking to the community, and just organically trying to grow what the Marshals are all about. And hopefully we jump from 400 to 800. And right now the thought at a new multipurpose stadium is in that 2,000 to 2,500 range. So again, there's no sense trying to get 2,000 people in a place right now that we can only fit 900 at. So we're just going to grow organically and do what we can to get the word out and get more merch out. And it's been a lot of fun.
What would you say that you're all about when it comes to the Marshals?
It's really about being a part of the community. And again, doing things like this, being out in the community. You know, we'll send a couple of our interns out with our mascot, Marshall Smitty, and just let them walk around downtown during the noon hour and see what kind of response they get, and give out rally towels and stickers and things like that. And first time we did that, we had somebody call across the street at Rolando saying, we just got handed this. It wasn't a ticket. It was our, it was one of these, one of our pocket schedules. And they had no idea we were even a thing. And our offices are right across the back street off of the Brunswick building. So,
wow.
So in respect, it's like, God, I'm not doing my job very well if the people across the street don't know we exist. But we do those types of things so people that wouldn't normally come to a game going, okay, I wonder, we got this big guy in this yellow mustache. I wonder what that's all about. And learn about the Fort Smith Marshals, getting on our website, fortsmithmarshals.com, and getting more information and backstories with our players. You know, we got 6 or 7 local guys, but we also have guys from 3 different countries and 5 different states. And so the other side of me as a general manager, I got to make sure that their experience is well-rounded and they get, fit in. Most of them are in college, so they kind of have that experience, but they might be in a dorm with somebody they already know. Here, they might get put up in a host family with obviously someone they don't know, maybe living with somebody, a teammate that they don't know. And so it's just part of growing up and finding out who you are. And so as fun as it is for me to be the realm of the public and our fans and developing that, it's just important to me to talk to our players and get to know them and develop them in a way maybe they didn't know they had. So we got 30 guys, 3 coaches, 2 coaches that are volunteering their time with us. And it's just we're just one family. And, I get to receive their family back after being on the road for 4 days, and I send them away for 2 more days. And then we're back Thursday through Sunday this week, and the same thing next week. So
I think most men say, looking back at their high school years, college years, if they went to go play college, that their coaches were the most influential men in their life. A lot of people say that. Have you had experience with that?
I have, in 2 different ways. And one is 2 different types of coaches. And you get a coach that you just get along with, connect with. And I feel as a coach and a player, as long as neither are taking advantage of that, that can work really well. I also had a coach that was very tough on me. And I didn't realize that he was just trying to make me better until I finished and realized that's exactly what he was doing. And there were days I didn't like him very much. And there may be days he didn't like me very much either. But looking back on it and maybe not having, again, this was several years ago. So now I think it's so much easier with social media and YouTube. You can kind of see those things develop in others because those stories are being put out all the time that you don't realize they're being so tough on you because they want the best for you.
Yes.
And so I think that's the way players connect. I think that, get some of these captains that none of the players like because they are pushing them to be better because they want the best team. Sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, but you got to keep an open mind and realize they're just trying to get something out of me that maybe I don't even know I have.
Yes.
And so I think that plays a big part, but you may not realize it for 20 years. That's exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. I think, this term it really comes from like a religious background, but it really is and sounds like, from what I've heard and even my experience with sports, is more of a discipleship type of relationship that you have, where you do have those tough conversations, where you do have those moments where you're at your lowest, but you also get to experience, the highest points. And so I know you've only been doing it, with the Marshals, it's only been, it's new, but have you had a chance for players to like step out on the outside as a coach and look in and see those moments where you're like, man, these men are building a bond that I think will last past this season?
I have. We came out winning more than we were losing, and we just came off, I think, lost 4 out of 5. And I'm luckily a part of the team texting thread, and so you see messages coming from coaches to guys, and you see the guys that respond and the guys that don't respond, whether it's off the phone or at the stadium, and you really don't learn a lot about anybody until you kind of go through a bad streak. And we just went through a little bit of a bad streak. We went into Joplin, won 3 out of 4 games. It'll be nice to see everybody tomorrow before they head out to Abilene to kind of see where their head's at, because we're going down. We're about in the middle of our full schedule. But Abilene, like I said before, is right now they're up on the league by quite a few games. But again, they got started about 3 months earlier than everybody too. So everybody's kind of looking up at them, knowing that would probably take place the first season until we both are kind of on a solid footing equally, where everyone's has the same off season. And we've played Abilene pretty well this year. I think out of the 7 games we've played, I think we've won 3, but 3 of them that we've lost, we're up late in games, so we know we can play with them. So it'll be interesting coming off a 4-game road trip, getting back early this morning and heading out to play them. I think we'll play really well the next couple of days.
Are any of the men who are playing, are any of them married, have kids?
Yep. Mason Wiggins is one guy that people in this area know, the Wiggins family, where the youngest is about ready to get drafted to the majors. Wow. Whether he signs or not, it'll depend on where he gets drafted and what that signing bonus looks like. But the middle brother played at Arkansas, got drafted, is now, I believe, playing in single A for the Cubs organization. And Mason's the oldest out of them, and he hurt his arm in college. And so he ended up going to the military, got married, left the military, is now working in a school system in Roland, Oklahoma. And he called me a couple of weeks for the season and said, I've been working out. I've been working with my brother's coaches, and I want to pitch again. He has a 2-year-old little boy, and I think he wants him to see the early success he had. And so we'll see where that goes. But I think Mason's 26, and his 2 younger brothers have found the success that he was hoping for. But for me, I couldn't have a better guy in the dugout, in the locker room, having gone through everything he has, the highs, the lows, a military background, and coming back home. He can relay a lot of things that I certainly never went through to a group of guys on a road trip or in the dugout. And I'm glad he's here. And even if he didn't play again, and just kept on showing his face and giving us that attitude of, you can go 0 for 4, strike out all 4 times, but you know what? You're going to go to bed. You're going to kiss your family goodnight. You're going to wake up the next morning, and you got another day to go at it. And that's the perfect guy to have in our dugout.
Yeah. I mean, the way you speak about Mason just makes me think there are a lot of good men, and there are also a lot of good players, and they're different, although they can be the same. And so when you're coaching and when you're really working with these guys, what characteristics of a good leader do you look for to put that man in place to help lead the team?
I think first of all, you just look at somebody that's willing to do whatever it takes, and he's willing to, especially if he's older, willing to share ideas and things with younger players, even if they're in the same position. But if they're being a little selfish with their time, or bad body language drives me up a wall, because not only do your teammates see it, but the opposing team sees it, our fans see it, but those 2 things, if you're willing, and I do the same thing with my interns on the other side it's if you're not willing to do whatever it takes for the whole team to be successful, then I don't think you're going to be as successful as you think you might be, because you've got to learn to do a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats. And if you're not willing to do that, you're probably never going to be willing to do that. So we try to break down those walls if we see it kind of happening. And sometimes you got to put them in a couple uncomfortable situations to see how they adapt. It's a lot like a pitching coach going out and their pitcher just gave up back-to-back home runs and things aren't going well. If you just pull them every time they're in trouble, you'll never see what they can do coming out of that adversity. So sometimes you got to let them pitch to another batter or 2 to see if they have it. And if they don't pitch well, it's like, boy, I should have pulled them out sooner. But you didn't do the player as a person any good by just pulling them out every time things are tough. And so we do that with our interns, and other players get that experience too. Is okay. We're not going to pull them out and tell them exactly what they did wrong. Let's let them ride it out and let them think, and then we can talk about it afterwards. And it makes no sense. I've been around for a while now, and I've seen a lot of things. And I'll never say I've seen everything, because every time I do, I see something new. But if you pull somebody out of a situation just because it's too tough for them, they aren't learning anything. So that's probably the biggest thing for me is, as either a coach or a manager or now a general manager in any facet of what I look over, is that you just can't pull somebody out of a bad situation just because they're having a tough time, because they'll never learn how to deal with it.
You say it so simply, but I know that's very difficult to make that choice, because, you see, coming from a fan perspective, you're sitting in the stands and all you hear is all this blah, blah, blah. Why did you take him out or take him out? And at that moment, a player experiences a bad run for a second. They get in a rut for a second. They had 2 home runs hit on them. Everyone is yelling at you, take him out.
Right.
But yet you're having to sit down and make that wiser decision to say, let's let him think about it. Let's let him chew on it. Let's see what happens. And so how did you get to that point? Because that's not very easy.
It's not. And having gone through it myself, I found out early on I wasn't going to be the pitcher I wanted to be in my head. But I also learned that, sometimes you got to kind of go through those things to learn something about yourself and what how far you're willing to go. And as I got older and read books, and, I've been in college athletics, I've been in other minor league sports, and really, I just try to pay attention. And, just because somebody else makes a mistake doesn't mean I can't learn from it. So we try to do that as a group. It's like, okay, after a game, we're going to talk. And so may have either made a mistake or didn't do something that we would typically do. We're going to find out why they didn't do it, what the other circumstances were that nobody else knows about, and have everybody learn from somebody else's mistakes so they don't turn around the next night and make the same mistake. So, experience plays a big part in all of this. And sometimes you just don't have enough experience to do it. And, you sit down and have these interviews with college kids about working for our franchise, knowing that, you're not going to ask them, typical questions that have been asked at you, because they don't have the experience. So you try to, okay, have you been a public speaker? Have you had any dealings with the public? I don't care if it was an ice cream shop. At some point, you did something somebody didn't like, and they've basically looked you in the face and want an answer. And that decision based on those types of things are something that you just learn from. And the second time that happens, maybe you deal with it differently. But until you have those experiences, you just don't know what it's like to be looked at by, another, adult, and they want an answer for something that you may not have any idea of why they're upset. You just know they're upset. And you learn how to deal with that pretty quick.
So with you being inside, kind of like an inside man, a lot of people, everybody thinks they know sports, right? They think they really know what's going on. They can read the plays, and they swear they know what came out the coach's lips. But when you talk to someone who actually knows, you see a huge disconnection. And so with you being that inside man, you're kind of a minority, because there's not a lot of you who actually know the sport. So who do you go to in your career to build up that tolerance, like you said, to actually bounce some of these conversations off of and deal with some of these things that maybe, are hard criticisms that you're having from the public, hard criticism that you're maybe even having from higher ups who don't understand the sport? Where do you go to have those conversations?
I go straight to my mentors who have had those positions, and hopefully through just the type of person I am, I over research anything, whether I'm going on vacation or whatever. Coming to Fort Smith, Arkansas, I do a lot of research. So knowing the situations I'll probably be put in, I ask a lot of questions of the GMs before me that I used to work for, and say, okay, I know you've run up against these things, whether it's, selling sponsorships or whatever, dealing with the public. It's like, okay, in this sport, these are the types of things that you're going to run up against. And I may have dealt with 8 of those 10, I want to know what other people have done in my position for the other 2. And again, you just never know what's going to be. And at the end of the day, I think people just want to be heard without being shut down right away. And you just got to back off and say, okay, I'm going to let you talk. You tell me everything that's wrong. And then we're going to figure out why that happened. And then we're going to come up with a solution. That's probably the other side of my job too, is, I have very little tolerance for people that all they want to talk about is the problem without, okay, that's the problem. Let's shut the problem down. Let's talk about how we're going to have a solution for this issue and spend the next 45 minutes talking about that instead of spending 30 minutes on the problem and then leaving a shorter time for the solution. So I'm not a blame guy at all. It's people make mistakes. And so again, let's talk about what happened. Let's find a solution.
How do you get that thinking, that mindset into your players of not, hey, look, I'm okay. I want to have an open line of communication of, yes, bring me the problem, but also you better bring me a solution with that problem that you can even propose. How do you get that mindset into the players?
Well, again, it just happened with a lot of people like to bicker with the umpires, whether it's fans, coaches, players, and we've found, and funny enough, during our losing streak, it got to the point where there's a lot of chatter from our players and some of our coaches with the umpires not agreeing with some of their decisions. And at the end of the day, yes, there were a couple calls that we thought, and myself thought, that could have went the other way. But when you look at the big picture of that, or 1 or 2 missed calls by an umpire, should that affect you so much that you lose your focus, you stop battling at the plate, and you're worried about, as a pitcher, whether it's a strike or a ball, should those calls, missed or not, should they affect the result of the game? And the answer to that is no. You should be playing so well that a missed call or 2 shouldn't affect the outcome of a game. Could a call at the end affect the score?
Yes.
It could. Should we have done better enough earlier than that? So we didn't go into the last inning with a 1-run lead. Maybe we should have had a 5-run lead, but we left the bases loaded twice. And so that extra run at the end wouldn't have cost us the game. We would have been up by 3 and, instead of 1. So those are the things we work through right now. And again, going back to the thread with our coaches and players, there's something that came out from our manager that basically said, when it comes to the umpires, keep your mouth shut. We're going to play above it. I don't need anybody to lose focus. And that was just one of those things that players go through. And you let that outside entity bother your focus and you're not ready to play, you're not going to play as well, and you just can't allow it to happen. And it happens to everybody. It happens to me just watching from the field going, and we had 3 guys strike out in a row, and I thought all 3 pitches were outside the strike zone, and instead of having the 3 guys on, we're done with the inning. But you can't allow your focus to leave you, because it's a long game. There's a lot of other decisions umpires have to make. And you know what? If we had 3 errors on the field and gave up 2 home runs, we played as badly as we feel the umpires played. And so you just got to take that thought right out of your head and say, we're going to play above it.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of life, a lot of healthy life decision thinking that goes into baseball that helps you take those skills and go outside of baseball. And even when it comes to like making calls with umpires and letting that distract you, I mean, and you know this better than anyone, but that actually grows into something way different if they go further, right? So
Absolutely.
If they go into major leagues, they go into minor leagues, well, it may not be a call from an umpire, although it will, but even more importantly, it's going to be a social media post from a fan. Or not a fan, that's going to deter you and throw off your whole game. And so building up that tolerance to play through the crap and not allow those things to affect your game is actually crucial right now, because it's only going to be more amplified when you get into these bigger stages, these bigger fields, and you have those bigger opportunities, because the fan noise is way worse.
It is. And it's, we haven't seen that yet. I hope we never do. But talking 19, 20-year-old guys, and to me, they're still just kids. And you got this guy sitting in his house that doesn't appreciate the guy that can't step up big in a big moment that one time. And he has to let the world know that this player's an idiot because he couldn't get a hit for his favorite team. And I don't know where that comes from, but it's something that, athletes of all kinds have to deal with now, is that person sitting in their basement at home that thinks that their thought has to be put out publicly. And it's just tough. I can't imagine playing these days. The stress on the field is tough enough, but the stress of everybody else out there watching you, and you know what? Bad days are going to happen. You look at baseball, you can be successful 3 out of 10 times, and you're a pretty darn good player. And so what happens to those other 7 times? You're an awful player. And, the history of baseball has proved that. Only a handful of times has somebody been successful 4 out of 10 times in a season. And, but to fail 6 or 7 times out of 10 and still be considered a success, it's baseball is pretty tough.
Yes. Okay, I want to go back and kind of talk about your connection to the sport. Is baseball your first sport love, and when did you get started?
It was playing Little League back in as a 6-year-old, and but I grew up in a small town in Michigan. So as I grew older and a little bigger, there were 6 or 7 of us in my grade that played football, basketball, and baseball, and just fell in love with all 3. And as the seasons changed, we just changed uniforms. But baseball is always something about, school was over and Little League started, and for me, I was a pitcher growing up, so we have the ball in the mound, and knowing that nothing starts until I wind up and throw the pitch, and then everything begins. And so as I grew up and had a son, even at my daughter's softball team, and she'd pitch every once in a while, it's like, I go out there and talk with them and say, just relax. Everything is fine. Nothing begins until you throw the ball. And now that has turned into a management position within baseball the last few years, it's just something about the process of prepping for the game and then having everything done and having that pitcher with the ball. And just as somebody that worked the whole day and process for having a game, just having that relief of, okay, you got about 5 seconds, a couple seconds before the pitch, a second for the pitch, and a couple seconds after the first pitch, and then all the work begins again. But just the buildup of that moment is pretty special for me, and it can't happen enough times.
I think people are now coming around to see it, and I think a lot of people have saw it for a while, but nowadays, with the economy and inflation, people are really looking at where dollars go. And so there's more criticism on sports and spending of sports, especially locally. But when you look at and you have conversations with men who are your age, my age, I'm 27, and you ask them, what are some of the biggest things that help you get to where you are or set the foundation for the man that you are, it's always sports. And so overall, community-wise, it is a net positive to have sports and every one of them that you possibly can, because it just makes everyone in the community better. And, you think about kids who are sitting at home, who are in situations of all kinds, who have no authority, who have no power, but then they step up on a mound and they say, man, it's cool to be in a place right now in this moment where nothing starts until I make this throw.
Right.
Nothing starts until I make this pass. Like nothing, not that everything's centered around you, but you have some power, you have some control over your life, and you can imagine what those outcomes are. I think it's very, very powerful. Those are the first times that some of these kids, some of these college students feel like they actually have a choice that they can actually inflict a decision upon.
Right.
No,
you're exactly right. It's one of those things. I take it, pick up an instrument and learn an instrument and create a band. It's kind of the same thing for me, is that, but sports overtook my life. I would have loved to have been in a band earlier in my days, but, it's just one of those things. You figure out what you're really good at, and then you get up on a stage, so to speak, and then you see some people starting to applaud what you're doing, and you're right, that might be the first time that's ever happened, and without that, you wouldn't have that. So, I find it very difficult sometimes to see some of these older players start giving up on their ability because they're so close to it. And, I would talk to some of our former college players, and I was assistant athletic director at Central Michigan, and a couple of them got drafted and they decided to walk away and start a family. And for me, that would have been such a difficult decision to finally give up on that. But when you're struggling in that life and trying to stay healthy and working out all the time and eating well and being away from your family a long time, I can see where that would be a grind. But for me, it would have been tough to put the glove away forever. Mm-hmm. But, it's like, we've been talking about, you grow up, you have all these experiences, and at the end of the day, it's about being a better man than being a better player. But if you could be both, then you got the world by the tail for sure.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, so going from school and playing Little League, where did you, I guess, make your first break, or how did you get to where you are today from there?
Went into, like I said, I played 3 sports in high school, went to a Division I college, and was going to walk on one of the sports. I didn't know what it was. But after being on campus for about 3 months and realizing that I didn't have a practice to go to, I didn't have a coach yelling at me, I didn't have to be anywhere else except where I wanted to be. It's like, you know what? Maybe just being a regular guy is going to be fine. And I found intramurals and got my sports out of that. But really, it wasn't until I knew I wanted to work in sports somewhere. So I went from college athletics to college recreation, and then I went outside of it and did the minor league sports down in Jacksonville, Florida. The company I worked for actually ran 3 different facilities, so I was able to do concerts indoors, minor league hockey. We had the Jacksonville Jaguars right across the street, so I was able to work NFL games. Then we had the AA team, which at the time, being a Michigan guy, the Detroit Tigers were the affiliate for the Jacksonville Suns back in the day. So it was like heaven there. And I got to do pretty much anything I want, but it was something about baseball that I always gravitated to. And I think it was just growing up, that was probably my best sport. And again, being on the mound and just having that attitude of, okay, nothing's going to start until I throw the ball to the catcher. And I think that just caught me right away. And until I got to be an adult and had other experiences, like, okay, I need to get back into baseball. So in another fashion, I can still have that feeling.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so what games have you guys played so far in the season? What games do you have left to play, and where are they?
We are about halfway done. We're a little more than halfway done with our home season. We have Abilene coming up. We've everybody's that is in our league has come to play us. We still have one place to travel to yet, but we're going to see Joplin, which are the Joplin Outlaws, which are like the best name we could have as our rival, being our closest city and us being the Marshals. So I want to say we played Joplin, I think, 4 out of the last 5 games. We play Abilene for 2. And then we played Joplin, I want to say 6 or 7 times the next 2 weeks. And they're right above us in the standings. So we have an opportunity to get above them. Right now, the way our playoffs are set, the top 4 teams make our playoff. And we're sitting at number 3, 4, 5, and 6 are right behind us. But if we can get to Joplin here pretty soon and overtake them, we'll hop up in a second. I don't think anybody will get to Abilene's level right now. But hopefully we'll have an opportunity to knock them off at the very end when it counts the most. But we'll still see Sherman and Texarkana and Piney Woods along with Abilene the rest of the way. So we're not done with anybody yet, but we didn't play Joplin very much the first part of the season, so we see them quite a bit the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and what are do you remember some of the dates that you can throw off for some of the upcoming games?
This next series is 4th through the 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. We're at home. We're playing 505 on July 4th, so everyone get out to the mayor's celebration on the riverfront. But come to our game first. We'll be done, and then you can spend all that time before the fireworks and that type of thing. So, and then the following week we play Thursday through Sunday as well. Then we have a quick 2-game series the middle of next week. Then we finish off with a 6-game homestand. The last 2 days in July through August 4th are our last 6 home games.
Okay. And then what do playoffs look like?
Right now, playoffs will look like top 4 teams will go to one site one day. I think we get 2 days off after our last regular season game. Basically, first we'll play 4th place, second we'll play 3rd, and then the 2 winners will play for a championship the day after that.
Awesome. Okay. And then last thing, where can people buy tickets?
FortSmithMarshals.com is probably the easiest way. You can keep them right on your phone and walk right into the stadium. Or we do have a yellow trailer that acts as our box office out at Crowder Field. We typically try to get there a couple hours before gates open. So for 7:05 night games, we'll typically be there 4 o'clock. Gates will open at 6. Our last 3 Sunday games, we've had our first 3 Sundays were at 1:05. Our last 3 Sundays will be 6:05 night games, but it'll be filled with, we got 4 or 5 giveaways left. A lot of theme nights. This Friday, we're doing fireworks after the game, but we're having basically a salute to True Grit, the movie. So we're going to have 4 or 5 of the characters out. We're going to have a junior rodeo queen with her horse out throwing a first pitch. Will be interesting. So we're just looking to have a lot of fun and a lot of different types of things that people can come out to. And if True Grit isn't your thing, we'll have something the night after that maybe is. So check out our website, our promotional schedule. If you haven't seen a pocket schedule, come in the office, grab one, or a lot of the convenience stores around town will have our pocket schedules to let you know what the rest of our schedule is like. But a little over a month to go and looking forward to making that final drive to being one of the top 4 teams that get in our playoff.
Man, that's awesome. Hey, well, thank you so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed talking with you about everything, and me and my wife and kid are going to have to come to a game.
Give me a call. We'll set you up, and I appreciate your time because this, for me, is what it's all about, is letting the community know and really the whole River Valley know that we're here. We're going to be here year after year. And but a lot like every other, small business that you really enjoy, you're going to have to support it to keep it here. So it's my job to do the best that we can to make it supportable, I guess. And so, like I said, Mercy and Arc Best stepped up first big time and gave us a 2-year commitment. And hopefully that drives us into that stadium year, that 3rd year, and we'll be out on the riverfront playing baseball.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.